Hello, welcome to our bullying and abuse disclosure training video. So we have talked about bullying a little bit in some of our other videos, as well have we talked about abuse disclosure in our plan to protect. This is going a little bit more in depth for you as a cabin leader so that you understand what needs to be done, how to have some of these conversations, and how we can prevent bullying in the first place. So I'm going to start with bullying and then we're going to move on to the abuse disclosure. Southern Alberta Bible Camp has a zero tolerance for bullying. And as much as we would love to have a bullying-free camp, unfortunately, that is not always the case. Sometimes this is just because camp is a new environment for kids. They don't know the staff, they don't know each other, and they have a little bit of establishing their own pecking order and figuring out where they fit with each other. And so we just want to help guide that, make sure that they are getting along, that they feel secure in their environment. Although we are a very large camp area, there isn't always a lot of time for kids to get away from each other if they have mounting tensions. They have activities together. If they're in the same cabin, they spend a lot of cabin time and time during the day together. Even when there's WAD games, they always seem to find each other. And sometimes we miss the warning signs of bullying happening or about to occur. We miss the side-eye glances, the whispers, the side comments to other friends. And all of a sudden, we have this outburst explosion of crazy yelling, fighting going on because we didn't realize that bullying was already happening. So how do we stop bullying before it even begins? A great way to stop bullying before it starts is to be with your campers as much as you can. This includes being in the dining hall. Instead of wandering around, taking 10 minutes or longer to get your coffee, visiting with other cabin leaders, you should be attentive to your campers. They are tired and hungry as well as yourself. It's loud, it's noisy. You don't notice when they are starting to get a little bit mad with each other or if they're starting to say rude things to one another. And if you're sitting at the table and attentive, that is a good way for you to be aware of if those things are happening. Of course, we want you to get your coffee or your tea, and we do want you to talk to other people as well. But make sure you're just keeping a mindful on the time so that you're not gone for too long, because if you come back and you've missed it, then it takes a lot of effort to figure out what actually happened. This also goes for the gym. It's loud, it's noisy, there's a lot of things going on. It's easy to miss what's happening. And we don't just ask you to be aware of your own campers. If there's two kids playing basketball, but they're starting to play really aggressively and don't seem to be getting along, or if there's kids playing ripstick, just stop and ask them how they're doing, what's going on. Maybe they need to change their sport or change their game, and that will help with their own frustrations and their own management of themselves. Another time that is important for you to be aware of what is going on and to be with your kids as much as possible is taking your kids to activity. Even though it is a time where you're going to take your hour off or you're leading activity, it's an important thing to make sure that your campers get to their activity and that their activity leaders are there. If it's your time off, stay at the hill or the meeting place until all the activities have gone. Because if there's a camper that is not accounted for, that might be your camper or somebody else's, if there is there's always confusion happening at that hill. Kids don't remember where they're going. Somebody's cabin comes late because it happens. We just ask that you be there to monitor, help kids figure out where different activities are, because 5 minutes left alone could cause a lot of hurt feelings and it could do a lot of damage to the child and how they think of camp, which is something that we don't want. We want camp to be a safe place for them. And so we ask that you do not leave the activity hill or scale hill until all the activities have left. And then you may go for your time off, which may result in it not being a full hour off, but maybe that will help us be more prompt on arriving. When bullying happens, you need to be ready to step in. Red Cross Canada says that 80% of the time, there are bystanders watching bullying happen, which is really sad because that's way too often for that to be happening. But they say that 57% of the time, bullying stops almost as soon as somebody steps in. And so we want that percentage to be higher because you are stepping in, and we want you to be doing your best to make sure that that bullying stops and that it's taken care of. So this may require you removing the two campers from each other, separating them. If there's another cabin leader or staff nearby, get them to help you out as well. Separate them, get the story from both campers, because sometimes the camper that looks like they were the victim or they were the victim may have had a hand earlier on in what actually went down. And so we just need to know what was going on because there could be bullying happening from both campers. If you need more clarification of what's happening, talk to campers that were nearby to see what was going on and ask what happened. In taking this time to talk to the campers in a more private space shows that you care for them and that you want to hear what they have to say. Please do not accuse them, but make sure to get both sides of the story first before any further decisions on that, on how to handle the situation. Taking them aside shows that you care for them and that you support them, and it shows the other campers that you care for them as well. Speaking of showing other campers, we also want to be mindful of our own actions and words to each other. We don't want to be found possibly bullying each other, even though we may have just that sense of humor and it might be funny to both you and the other person. Campers will be watching and they will not perceive it as a joke, depending on their age. And so, as just a straight across rule, please don't be tearing one another down. Be building each other up with your words and your actions. We have had a camper come up and express concern for their cabin leader because they believed they were being bullied by other cabin leaders. And that took a lot of courage for that camper to say, and it makes us very sad to think that that is the community that campers are seeing of our staff. Be mindful of your facial reactions, of your body language, because that also communicates different things to your campers. It might be indicating that you're favoring one camper over other campers, or that you're more agitated by a camper than the others. And all these campers want are to be loved and to be loved as equally as possible. There will be campers that require more attention than others. Reach out and have people come in and help you with those campers that might just need more time spent with them, or just might need somebody to watch them as they wander around. We have staff who are more than happy to help with that. Be in prayer consistently and constantly for your campers. Start now, start today. Pray that God will give them ease and be relaxed so that they can make friends with other campers easily, so that they can get along with each other, and that bullying will be minimal, if not at all, and that if there is a case of bullying, that you will be prepared in how God wants you to handle it. This is a camper contract, and so you're going to go through it with your campers, hopefully Sunday night, if not right away Monday, and you're just going to go through each of the pieces, that 1 through 6, with the campers. The first one says, I will not bully any other campers. This includes name calling, pushing, hitting, and leaving others out of what I'm doing. Number 2, I will not touch other people's stuff without permission. The stuff could belong to other campers or staff at SABC. I will listen to the staff at SABC. I will respect they are in charge and listen to them because they are trying to protect me and other campers. Number 4, I will respect the property of SABC. This means I'll respect all people, equipment, and the grounds of the camp. Number 5, I will tell my leader and or other staff if there's anything wrong while I'm at camp. I understand that they are here for my best interest and will tell them if I feel uncomfortable or upset. And the last one is, I understand SABC's no cell phone policy and have turned my cellular device into my cabin leader. And just a side note, we ask that you please do not have your cell phone with you all the time and that you're not using it all the time. We want your attention to be on your campers. End of note. By signing this contract, I say that I have read these rules and are willing to follow all of them. I also know that there are consequences if I do not, and I'm willing to accept those consequences if necessary. And then it has your camper's signature there, and please make sure that they sign their real names, because you may find this as a tool to use to fall back on later on if there is bullying, if they aren't picking up their garbage and going through other people's stuff, because they did sign this and it needs to happen. Some of them may have come with one already signed with that they went over with their parents. It's good to just have them sign again. And then your signatures will be on there too, so make sure that you understand what you're signing. When you're going through your camper contract, it may be helpful for you to also give them positive affirmations of things they can do. Like, we can play games with each other. We can include one another. We can make new friends. If we see garbage on the ground that we didn't put there, we can pick it up and put it in the garbage because we are being helpful and it is really good. If they have not signed the contract with you on the time that you've gone through it with all the other campers, please let the discipleship or fort directors know right away so that they can address that as we want the campers to sign it. So if you think that there could be bullying going on, you see some indicators, or you outright see it, make sure you talk to the people involved. If you're not sure, make sure that you're talking to those individuals in a way, in a space and a way that makes them feel safe so that they can share with you. Talk to other campers who you think might know what's going on. And if you need some help, pull in other staff to help you with that, as all the leadership staff and full-time staff would be more than happy to help you in that. When you are talking to your campers that have been involved in bullying, make sure that you tell them that they are bullying and why that is considered bullying. Maybe they don't understand and have never been told that that's bullying. So make sure that you tell them that and communicate that with them. Please, when you're talking to your campers, don't yell at them and don't accuse them of anything until we are confident that that has happened. We need you to be a safe space for your campers, and to have you be the one to accuse and yell at them. We don't want to yell at them at all. So we don't want you to yell at them, and in doing those things, that takes away from the safeness that you are for these campers during the week. Once you've talked to the campers and the situation has been handled, it is up to you as the cabin leader, if you haven't already, to talk to the discipleship or fort directors. You need to let them know what happened, and then they will help you fill out an incident report. If an incident occurs a second time, then the discipleship and fort directors, depending which camp is going on, will be called in to address the issue with the campers involved. And if it happens a third time, John Gartley, our executive director, will be notified and brought into the situation as well. When you let the discipleship or fort directors know of bullying, they will make sure that during the week they are checking in on those campers to make sure that things are still going well, that they're having a good time, and just to make sure that things are not going to get out of hand again and that the bullying will be dealt with. A lot of times with like bullying, you can wait till a different time in which to fill out the incident report, but there are different cases in which you need to immediately let leadership staff or full-time staff know, and that includes when there is physical fighting, when things have been taken, when there have been removal of clothing by somebody other than their own selves, like pantsing, or if there's been any bodily discharges. Now, let's take a look at an incident report and what you need to know in filling an incident report out. So first things first, you need to know the name of the camper or campers involved. It also has an option for staff, which hopefully we won't ever have to fill anything like that out. So we're gonna just stick with campers. So the name of the camper, and you'll probably need to know which cabin they're in. So if you do run into campers bullying each other and they're not in your cabin, Make sure you let that cabin leader know that that is happening with their camper, but you can also still come and fill out a form so that you can give what you know. The date of the incident, which as long as you know what day of the week it is, we can figure out what date it is. The time of incident, if you're kind of aware of the time, that'll be helpful. If you don't know exact time, I wouldn't worry about it. The location of the incident, so did it happen at activity? Which activity? Did it happen at the beach? Did it happen at the gym? Did it happen during a meal? The staff involved, and so if you're the cabin leader, but it happened at activity, then include the activity leader's name or a different cabin leader who was there, and anyone else involved, include them as well. Witnesses, if you know of witnesses. And then the type of incident will be the bullying one, and then the reported by, you'll put your name and the date. And now we're going to describe the incident of what happened, to whom, how, and the method of interventions, the conclusion, assessment of what happened and why. The warning or consequences will not be something that you write. It'll be something that a different, more seniority staff, such as the executive director, would fill in. Action taken, if there's any care instructions or whatever happened, you'll know where it fits. And if there's any notes that need to be there, so like if the discipleship directors check in on them, they might add a note of how things have been going since the bullying incident, or there's a number of things. The medical situations only, we don't have to worry about. That will be filled in only by the nurse. We are moving on to abuse disclosure. Sometimes I don't know which is more scarier, being told by a camper that they've been abused or having to fill out the form after. And I know that sounds like a really bad joke, but there is a lot of stress that I feel in having to fill a form out. And that's why we're going to walk through this so that you understand what is happening, what you need to know, and so that you don't have to feel the stress of it. Hearing a camper tell you that they have been abused is so hard, and I understand how you feel, and we want to be there to support you in this. So once you've had that conversation with your camper, feel free to grab the discipleship or fort directors or the program manager or any leadership staff and talk to them about it. We ask that you don't talk to other campers, and actually if you could keep it to discipleship fort or program manager, that would be best. We don't want to be misguidedly gossiping about campers without realizing it. We just want to keep this information close, not having a bunch of people know about it and talk about it. I want to tell you that you're not alone in handling this. As a staff, we love you and we care for you and we care about your well-being and we support you in these hard times. We also admire the work and effort you're putting in here at camp. The discipleship directors and the fort directors would love to pray with you and to be there to listen to what you need to talk about before and after, and whatever we can do to help. If you need some extra time to process, we can help you figure out when to do that as well. If you need help filling out the forms, or if you just need a reassuring presence, feel free. The discipleship and fort directors will gladly help you go through the filling out of those forms and be just there to encourage you and reaffirm what has happened. So we're going to go through the suspected abuse report, and for both the bullying incident and the suspected abuse report, they will be found in the mailbox room in a brown shelving unit. If that changes, we'll make sure to let you know when you are at camp. Some of the things that you need to know for filling out this form is the date, the name of the camper. If you only know their first name, that's all right. We can find the other information, including the age of the student, the grade, the birth date. We won't be super concerned about the rest of the information in this part, other than if you know that there's siblings at camp with your camper, we will want to include those names as well. And also you'll need to include your name as the person filling out the report. The rest of it we won't worry about. If you know the relationship between the suspected victim and alleged perpetrator, if you know what that relationship is, that might be a question that you could ask them. How do you know this person? Then don't allude to any relationship you think they might have. Let them tell you in their words, and then you can put it there. And then the nature of suspected abuse, physical, sexual, emotional neglect. These are things that we have talked about in Plan to Protect. And so it may be one of these, it may be several of these. You will be able to know from the information that they've told you. And if you're not sure, that is also okay. The indications of suspected abuse, including facts, physical signs, and course of events. If you have noticed things that have made you suspicious, bruising that doesn't seem explained for, that they can't account for how they've got it, or they seem really nervous about it. Make sure that you're having conversations with your campers about this in a safe place to see if you can find out. But if not, then if you are suspicious, then please fill this out. I don't think we fill out the action taken, but the discipleship and fort directors will know for sure in the summer whether or not that needs to be filled out. Pretty sure that the executive director fills that out. If a child is reporting, so if a child has told you that they've been abused, what did the child say? Give as many quotes where possible. And if you don't remember exact wording, still give what you recall them saying. And then what was your response? How did the conversation go is pretty much what the two are going. You will be given more paper to write this out if it is a longer, more in-depth conversation that you've had with them. And then you'll sign your name and print your name and date. And then from there, our executive director will be in touch with social services, and if needed, he will contact discipleship and fort directors, and they'll get in contact with you and see if there's any further conversations that need to happen. The program manager may also be included in that. And for the most part, for filling out this form, what you need to remember is the who, what, where, how, and to make sure that they are open-ended. We want to make sure that we're never asking a child why. They do not know why they have been abused, and it's something that is not logical to ask. But if you stick to who, asking what their relationship with the person is, who the person is, how do they know them, asking them where did this take place, where, if they can either tell you or just show you using their hands, if that is appropriate, like on themselves. We want to make sure that we're practicing safe touch. If you can ask them maybe even when the first time they knew, how often it's happened. And this is such a sensitive topic, and we want to be sensitive to them and to you. And so please let the discipleship and fort directors know so that they can pray with you. And we are praying for you now, as we know that these tough conversations will be happening during the summer. And we want to remind you that we do support you through this. Just want to remind you that when a child discloses something like this to you, it is not on you alone. You have community. We can give this to God, who is working in mysterious ways, in ways that we don't always understand and know how. And there are people who are already a part of the situation outside of camp that we don't always realize is going on, and they are also helping to take care of these campers when they are not here at camp. And so it is not on you to hold this yourself. We are praying for you this summer for when these conversations happen, and that God will be guiding the conversation.